right, so let's move on to the next panel. It is Levers of India Startup Ecosystem, Vizag Vantage. So it's a privilege to go ahead with the speakers. I would like to introduce and call upon Dr. Chaitra Harsha, Joint Managing Director, Vibration Biosciences Private Limited, to the dais. Dr. Chaitra Harsha is a rare personality who comes with a vigor of scientist, zeal of an entrepreneur, and the heart of a social activist. A medical professional, Dr. Chaitra went on to do her doctorate in sciences from prestigious Indian Institute of Sciences, II Sciences, and Management Program from IIIM, Bangalore. She represents a new breed of Indian entrepreneurs who are well versed with the global realities, having put their ideas to test and having rolled out success ventures with bear testimony to the vibrancy of this great country. Dr. Chaitra is a globetrotter and has been a flag bearer of Indians' women entrepreneurship at various reputed international platforms, including Asian Berlin Summit and World Economic Forum. After tasting success in two of her ventures, she is currently focusing on the sunrise sectors of healthcare and biotechnology. So put your hands together to welcome Dr. Chaitra Harsha.
The next speaker on the panel is Mr. Hemant Shilwan, Director, Corporate Ventures, Bosch Software and Business Solutions. Hemant is responsible for corporate innovation, with startups as Director and Innovation Hub Leader for India. He heads the Open Bosch DNA India Startup Alliance initiative as a Program Director, with responsibility towards driving innovation through engagement and external startups for co-innovation and GTM partnerships. Hemant has an Executive MBA from University 18 Business School and a postgraduate diploma in Digital Business from Emeritus Institute of Management, Singapore. Hemant is interested in music, trekking, and loves to play tennis.
So the next speaker for the panel is Ravi Ishwarapu, CEO, a hub of President TiE Andhra Pradesh, AP. So Ravi is an CXO turned entrepreneur, business consultant, strategist, investor, and a speaker. Ravi has 23 years of experience in heading business strategy, sales, operations, corporate quality across the globe for large corporate. Ravi's last assignment during turning an entrepreneur was head corporate quality CQO at Tech Mahindra. Ravi is a serial entrepreneur as identified by INC 42 as one of the top angel investors in Andhra Pradesh. Ravi is now the CEO of Andhra Pradesh Andhra University Incubation Hub, and helps in establishing one of the India's most largest integrated incubation ecosystem, monitoring the growth of startups, turnaround of ailing companies, investing in large early stage startups, startup business strategy, awareness sessions on entrepreneurship, startup pitching and strategy sessions across India. So put your hands together to welcome Ravi to the panel.
From one Ravi to another Ravi. I'm personally a fan of this person because I'm in the same WhatsApp group. He doesn't know me by face and I didn't know him by face, but regularly he updates the youngsters, the students coming out of engineering colleges, what are the best opportunities and how should they upscale themselves. He is Dr. Ravi Shankar Saripalli, is Director, Center for Innovation and Incubation, Gayatri Vidya Parishad College of Engineering for the past 12 years. The center has incubated more than 15 startups and filled more than 45 patents to date. Dr. Ravi is also helping Intelligence Technology Labs and EduTech startup. Prior to this, Dr. Ravi was working with Wipro Technologies for more than 13 years. Received the Best Mentor Award at Yuva Summit from Kailash Satyarthi, Nobel Peace Prize winner, Infosys founder Narayana Murthy, and Gururaj Deshpande at Deshpande Foundation of the Year 2015. Good to see you.
Again, last but not the least, the last member to speak in the panel is Srikant Koriboyana. Srikant is an award-winning entrepreneur and has MS degree from University of Dayton and alum of Kellogg, AMEP. He is direct commissioned to U.S. Army officer. He is member of Advisory Council for Harvard Business Review and is part of the New Mexico Lab Embedment Entrepreneur Program at Los Alamos National Laboratory, a fellowship for entrepreneurs focusing on national security. Prior to starting his entrepreneurial journey, Srikant was corporate executive for Fortune 100 and managed global initiatives. He published several papers focused on AI, data privacy, and security in space. So put your hands together for the entire panel. Welcome. The forum is all yours. Thank you.
Very interesting panel we have today.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the good introduction. It looks like it's a mixed crowd. So may I understand, is it startups, want to be entrepreneurs who are struggling, or may I know how many of you are even want to be entrepreneurs? Okay. I guess they're from the student community. And how many of you have somewhere tried and tested some kind of a startup of your own? Okay, very few. And what about the rest? Sorry? Some of them are, yes, I think the front benches are all achievers already, I presume. What about the back benchers? It's always the backbenchers who are entrepreneurs, who become entrepreneurs, who always take risk. Do you agree? I was a backbencher. Now I somehow feel that people do take risk. There is certain qualities. So let's understand from such an eminent panel. So before that, I would like to give a little bit of introduction of what is the startup ecosystem of India as such. Yes, we are racing ahead in number 1 in population, right? Just recently, I think we crossed China also in population. But on a good note, we are the 3rd largest startup ecosystem after China and US. Something to boast of. We have more than 70,000 startups being registered or recognized by Government of India, out of which how many unicorns? This year itself, about 23 unicorns in year 2022. What about the investments? Everybody wants to know the numbers, right? More than 24 billion has flown into more than 1,000 plus, startups in India, and a good chunk goes into even tier 2, tier 3 cities. So that's a positive note. Yes, what is required for such an encouraging startup ecosystem in India? It also shows that there should be an ecosystem which encourages innovation, right? It's so important for startups to even to begin to scale up, to achieve even success. Innovation should be through and through, even from the beginning to the end. You cannot get away without innovation. Yes? So with that note, I would like to probably elicit more from the panelists who have been in some way or the other in the journey of entrepreneurship, or who have been part of the ecosystem, who have been contributing continuously, who have been working with a lot of startups. So I'll start with Hemant. So Hemant has been, he's the Director, Innovation, InnoHub India, and works with a lot of startups. His core area is, global scaling strategy and connecting startups to the global level. So I would like to understand from him, what do you look at, and what is the scenario of Indian startups taking them global, scaling up to the global level?
Thanks, Dr. Chaitra. That was, it's important. And so from my role point of view, I actually take care of two things. One is an outside-in view where we work with external startups for the corporate, try to engage them to the right problem statement of the business unit, and help the engagement to scale, not just the startups, not just the corporate. So together, how can both the startup and the corporate actually have a win-win situation? So that is the DNA part. The other one, corporate venture, is a global one where we actually foster innovation from the employees of the company. Bosch is a 400,000 plus people company across the globe, and the GROW is set up to be the incubator hub of Bosch. So I represent India, but I'm also a part of the global leadership team, where we look at ideas which have reached certain stages and have a potential to become a unicorn within the next 10 years. We fund, give them the platform to scale, right? Because it's not just about the product, it's also about the platform, the operations, the setup, the organization itself, while the team has the passion. So from that perspective, we provide a platform to scale. Topics could be quite interesting, but we also need to see what is the product market fit. We also need to see what is the customer willingness to buy, what is the customer willingness to invest in that topic, is it there at the right point in time. These are some of the factors which we look at and enable the startups, provide the startups with all the infrastructure facilities to really take this one to the next level.
Oh, that is great. So startups, you are not alone. You're not struggling alone. So there is somebody who is there to handhold. It could be incubators. It could be, technology enablers. Some of them like Bosch, like especially innovation hubs. I think every industry is setting up innovation hubs to, as I said, the innovation is the core of any organization to even to survive today. So that is the classic example what Hemant is giving. Next, I would like to ask Shrikant. Shrikant also has been an entrepreneur, been with Harvard Business Review, and has part of there's the core tech guy who's been mostly working abroad in US. So Shrikant, how do you see this space? I mean, how do you perceive Indian startup ecosystem evolving? And you also spoke about, I mean, just at the backstage we were just talking about he wants to come back and set up something. He want to enter into entrepreneurship in the space of space. Interesting, right? So not many of us even think of space research. We always think that this is something only a government organization would do, or not entrepreneurs can get into it. So please throw some light on that, Shrikant.
Sure. Thank you so much. What an esteemed planner. We have someone from throw a little bit of light on that end. I always loved to be on the side of innovation. I worked with corporates, large corporates, and then I became an entrepreneur. One of the things which I enjoy as you wake up is to do things which people say it is impossible, or something which they don't see it. So my first journey started with AI medical imaging product. So I had all of my teams who were sitting when the pandemic came in. So I did a multi-million-dollar tech transfer. We used AI to detect COVID presence. I think 16 different countries approached me, including some of the prime ministers and presidents. From nowhere, we became a 80 people company. 27 large corporates were working, and I don't want to name those companies, and we were just valued at $1 billion things. But then we got into vaccination and a different aspect of it. But the key initiative was that me being an army officer, I had a little bit view on the defense side. But I was a space fellow. So space is something which we think is of a next generational thing. So what happens was that until 2-3 years ago, I was told that, don't quote on me, I was told that you couldn't even get a piece of paper from ISRO just on a Xerox machine. But with the change of leadership, space is being commercialized. we did have 2-3 launches from India, and then there are some great startups which were coming out. But now we are still not in a market or a situation where you are onto the space applications or next gen. This is a niche market and it's growing. So if you want to be on the next generational level, think 2 steps ahead, start out there. But state of Andhra has some peculiar things which no others can actually get. You have Sriharikota and you are close to the launch. I think you can have launch facilities from here. None in the nation you can never get it. That's a great advantage for state of Andhra Pradesh. Our engineering talent is amazing. Nenu Telugu anni. So I have been to places, I worked with best labs, but our engineering talent is a super cool talent. So what I would wanted to say is that combine and connect with education, starting from your side out there, corporate ventures, entrepreneurship, and we have a great doctor. So this is the combination of ecosystem that you need in order to build a great product. So when we got, the product idea need not to come from you, but the quality and other things might actually happen. So think at a next level. There is a new entity called InSpace. So you have a lot of money waiting from the defense sector. You have a naval base over here. So I hope some of these entrepreneurs would take some aspects of the benefits that we have and build great products from state of Andhra.
Great, Shrikant. So yes, from US, let's come back to your own city, Vizag. Andhra Pradesh, do you all know that it has topped the World Bank's ease of doing business? So what does it mean? So it's a right time, right place, right? And your own CM has vouched for making another Silicon City in Vizag. So you have the right mindset. See, any startup, it cannot survive in a vacuum, right? It definitely needs, supporting like-minded people, have to work together. So what are the enablers for a right ecosystem? Vizag to become a right ecosystem just next to Bangalore or Hyderabad. It is about people. See, infrastructure and good governance, again, I feel because your own government is promising it, definitely they will work towards it. So it is all that we should look for is like-minded people like Dr. Ravi and Ravi, who are heading the incubation centers. I want to ask Ravi, so who's been in the industry with Satyam and Tech Mahindra for a long time, and then tested the success of an entrepreneurship, and now he's heading one of the largest incubation network, right? So I want to ask you, throw a little bit of what stage is it today, Vizag, as a startup hub, and how do you see it growing?
Thank you. Congratulations on your Forbes article today. I think people should know that. Yeah. Yes, a part of TIE, which is a very large entrepreneurial network, and what at Andhra University, I'm CEO at the Andhra University Incubation Hub, which we are trying to create, while as in standalone incubation system, maybe not the largest, but integrated multidisciplinary. Like if you're talking pharma, taking advantage of like a NASCOM Center of Excellence in AI and IoT. So we're creating an incubation system which has got, of course, technology, generic, any retail or generic startups, but most importantly, pharma, bio, genomics, food, marine, everything on the campus, peppering the campus all over with multiple spokes of incubation centers for 200,000 square feet of incubation. As an incubator, you're more like a startup. So we've been about 9 months. We have the same concept that a startup goes through. We have to have our own mission. We have to do our competitor landscape. We have our own team. We have our own KPIs. Initially, maybe we have that bootstrap or a funding that gives the university or some DST or some MIT gives us. But after 2 or 3 years, you are supposed to be sustainable. So you have your own KPIs, and also sustainability becomes important. So now Vizag as a startup ecosystem, it was at one point of time very vibrant, then it died down. But probably post-COVID, again the momentum has picked up. So it's pretty much you see you can see a lot of, along with AP Innovation Society, again having the CEO, Anil, coming on board, driving it from the front through the government. Then you have all these incubators like, surprising, you have AMTZ, the MedTech Zone, which is the Bio Valley, doing great stuff, the largest producer of oxygen concentrators and the only producer probably from India and supplying during COVID, because that's what made me remember when Srikanth was talking about it. There's a unicorn out there, but we really don't know. We still have to figuring out who that unicorn is from AMTZ. So low-lying, but then we have the AP Innovation Society's own incubator, then we have the STPI starting an incubation center in RINL, which is the Vizag steel plant, then we have our own this thing. Now, in our own incubation ecosystem, if you're talking of today, just in 9 months, along with NASSCOM Center of Excellence in AI and IoT, we're talking about 25,000 square feet of space. We could create 75 growth stage revenue generating startups. So things are happening tier 2, like what Pravan was talking of. Now when he's talking of 10 lakh rides in a day, and he's talking 35% of rides coming from tier 2, tier 3. I was asking Pawan that future growth for him would not be, he must have already sort of matured in the tier 1 cities, and there would not be probably growth story there because he's gone to all the metros. Now where he has to go is the tier 2 and tier 3. And the grassroots innovation and this thing that comes from, and I'm sure Pawan's success was because he's been from a tier 2 city, he's understood the DNA of a tier 2 city and then how to take it forward. So I think Vizag, with all these things happening, I think currently I've already seen in the last 9 months, 8 startups graduate, 7 of them get funded for about 62 odd crores of rupees. But again, I'm okay. Most of them have migrated to Bangalore after they attained a certain stage, because most of them are tech startups. I don't find fault, but at least they started off their roots here. So I think
you're one of the earliest investors, angel investors.
Okay, I'm an investor. 2012, I moved out of TechM. I see my colleagues here from TechM here, but I moved out as the chief of quality. Then because I emotionally attached to this place called Vizag. So I first ventured into healthcare startup, ICD-10 and other stuff, built that company, sold my stake with the money that I could make, put that money back into another 4 startups. One is the HR tech space. I have my people here, IoT, IT product development and FinTech. So, and thankfully all the 4 of them are profitable as of today. So with that experience, I'm now trying to, my alma mater, which is Andhra University, I'm trying to help as a pro bono, trying to build that incubation ecosystem out there. So I think there's this thing, and I have great people as friends from me while the associations, I'm also part of TIE, then there's CII, then there's ITAP, there's all these institutions that are there which are coming together and working now collaboratively. I also have my own, I don't call it competitive landscape, but how do we work together? Like I have Ravi out here, who is also my friend right from the Wipro days. He was in Japan and then came back again. Most of us here that you find, unlike maybe in the tier 1, I'm not the right person to comment, but we are very emotionally attached to this place and very passionate to make something happen in the tier 2, tier 3 stuff. So is the Ravi. So Ravi and Ravi have the same DNA of passionate, trying to make Vizag have its stand in the global map, or at least in India as the preferred IT destination or for the startups ecosystem, which is going to be the next thing for the growth.
Great, Ravi. So basically, what I see is the culture and the roots definitely makes them come back and contribute. As I said, the like-minded people is so important. Yes, if you look at, even you take any of, the successful startup ecosystem, it could be, as of now, we want to call Bangalore, even you go back to Bay Area, you take any area, people, it is about the connections, the networking, and someone who's want to contribute back to the society. They have come back, and that is something seen in Ravi. And when I want to talk to Dr. Ravi, also is a similar line. He's been a mentor for a long time and continues to do that. So I would like to hear from him, what has the journey been for him as a mentor, and for people who have been into entrepreneurship or who want to start something, want to understand what are the areas that, people have been or entrepreneurs want to be entrepreneurs looking at, other than, the core again, tech, fintech, health tech. But how is it evolving? That I would like to know from you.
So, thank you so much. I just want, I will answer this, but I'm here again to share that we are here for branding Vizag. This whole event is meant for branding Vizag. So that is a Vantage Vizag. Vizag Vantage is what is our thought process. So I'll just talk about that and
Sure.
I'll come back. My answer would be there within that. For any, in future, from now to the next 10 years, for any place or for any city to be attracted by or to become an IT destination, 5 levers are important. The first one is obviously the people around that space, right? The second one is the place itself. The third one is a piece, and the fourth one is a practice which is available, the domain practice, and the last one is the prospects which would offer by the city, right? So I'll just touch upon that, and your answer is inbuilt within that. This place is a women-first place. Today, if you look at Vizag, 990 sex ratio is 997 to 1,000, whereas national average is 930 to 1,000. So we are all women first. So obviously that is what I think many companies are striving to get there. We are already offering that. The second one is this place is having 3 million, I'm talking about quote to quote 3 million peace practitioners for 100 years. So we have been cultivating this harmony and peace in this particular part of the society. For last 100 years, there absolutely the harmony as well as the social social peace is available. That is very, very important aspect to grow naturally for a long time. That is the second element. The third piece, especially in the context of high-tech industry, I'm not talking about IT, software development, I think we are going beyond that. So with the advent of AI, with the advent of no-code solutions which we are talking, the future is always going to be much more domain-centric than pure IT-centric, right? That is the future which we going to be. Recently, I was talking to a company called Modak Analytics. It's based out of Hyderabad. And I was talking to the founder. He said they're actually into the analytics space, but that too into the your own space. I was just talking how many developers required, how many architects required. He said, I don't require any of them. I just need one single bio specialist. That is enough for me. So people are talking about domain specific now. This place, probably I think it has not been highlighted, or probably eventually it would actually grow on its own naturally. This place is practicing 8 domains for so many years, and we have enough domain specialists in 8 domains. Number one, this space is practicing the maritime, right? I think that is something which is absolutely available. So many domain experts in the maritime or connected segment. The second one is logistics and supply chain kind of thing, because thanks to the kind of port environment we have, so much of domain expertise within that area is available. The third one is large-scale manufacturing. I think we are talking about futuristic smart factories and so on. AWS actually, I think my friend Arvind was talking in the previous panel. Amazon has created a new vertical called smart factories, and they recruited 40 mechanical engineers who have complete understanding of large-scale manufacturing segment, right? That is the future they are thinking about. This space is already offering with respect to the IoT center. Morning we were talking about in RINL or BHEL or large scale any manufacturing unit, that space is already available. The fourth domain which we have been practicing naturally is pharma. We have 2 pharma cities, one in one side of the city, that are Ramki Pharma City, other side Paidibhimaram near Srikakulam. We have enough pharma companies nearby and enough domain experts are available. The fifth one is tourism. This is called as a east side of UT. We have Arku Valley and all that. I think tourism as a smart tourism, if at all, if something comes up, that is something we can offer. And the next one is the defense. This is again a naval base and all that. So we have that segment as well. And mining, is also connected to this place because we are connected to the Chhattisgarh, we are connected to the Orissa, we are also connected to some mining spaces, bauxite and so on. So smart mining is the future, which is again, this is practice here. Last but least, this is a medical facility for the 3 states nearby. Again, Orissa, Chhattisgarh and Andhra Pradesh, North Coastal Andhra Pradesh, Vizag is the hub. So with this kind of so many 8 practices cultured over a period of, and petrochemical as well. Yes, 9. I think I have to count 9. So many domain experts are available. No code solutions and AI, when it comes, when integrated with an IoT and all that, probably I think this is the next futuristic place. The next element is this Andhra Pradesh. I think if you look at the creativity side, we have 19 geographical indicators so far incubated over a period of time. It has come inherently, right? Out of 1110 National Innovation Foundation grassroots innovators listed on the website, 200 are from Andhra Pradesh, right? That is also, I think, naturally creativity is already existing. That's another part, which is an ugly part. Probably I'm not, though I promote creativity and so on, but naturally this part of Andhra Pradesh, I think they are inclined toward IIT JEE examination. I think, I don't want to get into that debate now, but you see out of 10 people, 1 is from Andhra Pradesh, right? Recently I made a small survey, I just for your statistics point of view, don't quote anywhere outside. I'm not going to name the IIT, I'm not going to name the batch, and I'm not going to name that department. So in one batch, the number of IITians I was just going to call out. In one batch, in one particular department, from Gujarat 3 people, Maharashtra 11 people, Rajasthan 12 people, MP 7, UP 1, Chhattisgarh 1, Punjab 1, Bihar 2, combined Andhra Pradesh and Tamil, our sister Telangana together 25, right? So you just do a math there, approximately 15 would be from Andhra Pradesh for sure, and roots would be connected here. So intellectual quotient is not at all an issue. Emotional quotient we need to add. More celebration required, more branding required. I'm sure they will come back one fine day here. And the next one, I think again it's a, I'm not again getting into ugly discussion. Everywhere, every family in Andhra Pradesh will have one US connection, right? So investors connections is also there here. The last one is, again you see in the recent times, we have so many engineering colleges. Morning, somebody, Saurabh Gau was talking about 2.5 lakh engineers coming out. Out of 2.5, this year onwards, at least 70% are from CSE background. So we recently did conducted a small survey. How many are actually practicing lead code? How many are practicing code chef? How many are practicing hacker rank? How many practicing hacker earth? How many practicing dev for you? And we did some kind of check. Approximately 10% are really good, and they are all competitive coders. All are available here. If someone comes here, they can actually get nurtured and get into that. The last one, the people connection. I'll only take 2 examples, the extreme examples. In 1979, Wipro started in Bangalore in a small room, 5-member team. Out of 5 members, 3 are from Andhra Pradesh, 1 from Vizag, from Andhra University, Dr. A.L. Rao. The recent examples, my friend is talking about Skyroot Aerospace, right? So recently it has been launched, and the facility is based out of Telangana. And the founders, both founders are from Vizag, Nagabharat Dhaka and Pawan Kumar Chandana, both are from Vizag. And the satellites which are actually sent from that Skyroot on that particular day has been built by a person named Divya Korapati from sleeping town called Tenali, right? So there again, there is a connection. So people are there, entrepreneurship is there, connections are there, IQ levels are there. It's all about celebration issue. We just need to go on this celebration. I'm sure one fine day the prospects are going to be Vizag. Thank you so much.
So he's really passionate, and I can see that. Yes, Andhrites are go-getters. I can definitely say that, irrespective of the place, because Bangalore is also filled with people and who are hardworking and easygoing, as rightly said. But only thing, even for a startup ecosystem to mature, I think some of the successes need to be celebrated is so important. He said a unicorn is there, we do not know. But if you look at some of the ecosystems like Hyderabad and Bangalore, yes, we are largely concentrated with service sector. And I agree with Dr. Ravi that manufacturing is something that India is exploring, and startups and entrepreneurs are getting into it, and being supported by big industries, and that's a wonderful space India is in. We should leverage on that. And certain areas we always masked, by the tech, right? So he's talking about defense. He's talking about, yes, tech is required for your day in and out, no doubt about it. But certain areas, as tourism, manufacturing, definitely we should, as if you're all looking out for ideas and want to get into, you should focus on these things. Don't worry, money is not concentrated only on the tech. It's only a percentage of it. But the moment you build on your strategy, you know what you're doing, definitely money would flow in, right? So for all those who really want to get into and make your own startup, this definitely is something to take away from Dr. Ravi, what he says. So let's come back to Hemant. I want to understand, do you feel that Indian ecosystem, startup ecosystem is mature enough, and how do you build or bridge the business and the startup ecosystem? How do you build bridge? How do you bridge businesses with the ecosystem?
Thanks. Quite an interesting question, right? Because we all talked about ecosystems, we all talked about how each of us need to work together to really make it happen. So one of the key things what startups need is the support, framework, mentorship, and the infrastructure, right? So because the brains are there are people, there are teams which are passionate. Of course, the team is quite important for any startup to really succeed. We know that the passion in the team, the dedication, the members in the team, the attitude, discipline and skills are key aspects. So along with this, what does the startup need? That is the ecosystem. And ecosystem could be partners, ecosystem could be the cloud partners, ecosystem could be the universities, education institutions, the mentors, and corporates, right? So coming from a corporate, what we do is also to look at if there is a adequate opportunity for a startup to really be a part of it, right? We ensure that within the organization, we actually encourage the business units to really work with the startup and take it to the next level, right? Because in some cases, what used to happen earlier was someone used to work with a startup, then get that idea and start building it. We don't want that. We have a very clear guideline that if you want the topic and you're engaging with a startup, you have to take the startup up. So we have three modes. It could be co-creation, it could be go-to-market partnership, or it could also be investment into the startup. So that is how we nurture the idea of a startup and ensure that it is either acquired, invested, or there's a strategic partnership which happens, which enables the startup to use the facilities within a corporate and go globally outside, or use the mentors and the labs that are available within a corporate to really take it to the next levels.
Thank you, Hemant. Yes, that brings to a point that I have seen that large corporates don't look at employees as just employees, but drive them for some kind of an innovation, within the organization. Not that you look at startups to tie up with, but example, SAP, some of them, big corporates do look at innovation within their team. That's so wonderful. The team is so important, that means. So Srikanth, I would like to understand from you, what are the new niche areas that, as Dr. Ravi said, what according to you, what are the other areas that we can definitely touch upon for nurture within for the startups?
Got you. Just before jumping in, I wanted to bring a little bit global, different perspective. Thanks for the stats that were given. I had 25 university students that worked for me on a global scaling challenge coming from Asia, Europe, and India. The quality that we get over here, trust me, even if they are IITs or IIS, I'm a guy who's starting my own university both in US and India, so I really get the education barrier. So you don't need to be at IITs or you don't need anything out there. You just need a Google and YouTube, and you have to have a different set of education system. If this gives you basics, I think Praveen, one of these Aggies, he's from Texas A&M, the way you think, the way you operate actually gets completely different. So whatever you learn gives you on the basic structure. So trust gap factor. So whatever I hear from India, the trust gap factor is so high, what you say to what you do should be a little bit lower. That is not really coming to our education ecosystem out there. The next piece which I see is person to process based. So everything that we do here is on person based thing. It should be process oriented. In order to mature on that level, it takes a little bit more higher. So we are always a service oriented company, even HCL. I think we have thousands of people, TCS, Infi, Wipro, whatever we get. But the only company which we got on product is Zoho. So if for the startups to really understand what the problem is or what product or what solution you need to do, you need to have a customer discovery, interact with people. We don't have that ecosystem up here. So it all comes from the real world problem. Our research is not up to the mark. So when you know that you have certain wing, it could be biosciences, it could be life sciences, it could be anything that you go. To identify the niche area, you need to think on the global scale. To get that, I think MIT most of their programs are open things. So go watch it. You can even watch the Startup Y Combinator directly online. That's how you get a little bit build locally but sell globally. We call it local or the best way. So to identify in every aspect, every sector, you might be in manufacturing. It could go on to space manufacturing. You could be on aeronautics. That could go in a completely different structure. Applying the technology in multiple disciplinary of the same thing. It's like learning ABCDs. If you learn AI, the applicability of area, it's how better fine-tune can you get on. So I was able to quickly switch from medical to the space, and that could definitely go into some other sector as well. So in that, you need to identify what is the largest program. So for all the entrepreneurs sitting over here, go and speak to the customer and figure out what is their immediate problem, and from there comes something new. That's the biggest driver. But space market goes on, but every area that you go in, you can search for it, because that's where the innovation thing comes in. I'm not saying that, hey, today it is ChatGPT is the something unique that is buzzing around. You go, it doesn't fly that way. You basically need to figure out what is the impact that you are going to create at the end of the day. Even like the Rapido guy who was speaking, you have the products that are already existing, but what uniqueness or how much impact at what pace? You don't need to have the brilliant idea, you don't need to have a patents. Are you able to solve it? There are n number of unicorns which does nothing but solve simple problems. That's where the business things come into picture. So if you are able to, don't even focus on deep tech. Now we call it tough tech. I graduated from MIT's Blueprint program, where you transition the next generational solutions out there. So that's a different conceptual thing. So I would highly recommend that you step a little bit above and then get the solutions out. So you would figure it out by yourself. Again, I was too generic out, but all I was trying to say is what is the process that you can identify that would be the next level thing, instead of just following on the technology side. I hope you got it out there. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend, but I was really saying getting into IITs doesn't mean that you are the successful guy out there. There is something quite unique on the cultural aspects that we need to change on.
Yeah, great, Shrikant. So that comes to some of the bottlenecks that definitely we need to focus on. One is trust factor, definitely, Shrikant. I totally agree with you. And the process-driven, systems is something that will take you a long way. I want to hear from Dr. Ravi. What are the bottlenecks when you, because you work closely as an enabler and incubator and work with early stage startups. So what are your bottlenecks, and how do you want to how do you address them?
So as I think we are hearing, right, I think the process side, definitely I think we are more emotional to a particular idea, and we are just going deep into that, emotionally get attached to that, but we would not go beyond that. when we are talking to because predominantly I connected to the student community as well as the early stage startups and so on. So they hang on to a particular idea and they'll just sit on that and they would not go beyond that. And the connections are also very feeble, right? I think they would not go to the extent of taking this product or the idea to the next level. This is when the design thinking approach is missing within these startups. See, when we are talking up a particular idea, right? So whether there is a human centeredness, whether there is a all stages are covered or not, I think we would not go. Of late, I think Government of India also realized that, especially in our education curriculum, design thinking is missing. So they introduced this concept, but still we are reading it and we are only taking it at a very peripheral level. So having said that, there are so many bottlenecks, which again, if I start talking, I think it would be a laundry list. But the platform is set in such a way that we would definitely overcome that and something big is going to happen. The contest is like this. There is an aspiration within the student community. The India is also bringing some extent the attraction to the entire world market, and technology is kind of maturing. So all three convergence is taking place in this particular location or in this particular area. So students are probably the early stage startup would actually catch up. So I'll just give you one example so that my answer is not abstract but very deep into that. You see the Edison's life, right? So Edison as a person, if you see the kind of issues or the kind of obstacles he faced in his life itself, as an early kid, he was having health issues, right? When he was a student, he was not at all a good performer. He was failed in the school. When he started his experiments in the Grand Truck Train and all that, we have seen how he was caught into that issue of fire and he was slapped and he became dumb and so on. So you see the entire marital history also, the family life was not so great because he was always locked up with these experiments and so on. You see one incident happened in his lifetime in 1940s, probably I think 1944. This Menlo Park factory was completely burnt off. That night Edison calmly came to his home and he was sleeping. Wife was weeping, crying, and she was literally shouting, all our investments, all our patents, all our entire plan is completely burnt off. How do we live now? Seeing mother and father, son was also crying, he was also worrying what's going to happen to us. Edison was very composed, calm, he did not say one single word. Next morning he called his wife and said, can we go for morning walk? Usually they are supposed to go in one direction, but he took purposefully to the place where these ashes were there. The complete factory was burnt off. Edison only told one statement at that point of time, my dear wife, all my mistakes are burnt into ashes. Let me start fresh. This is the only statement he made. You know what? All the bulbs which we are seeing today is an invention made after that issue. Had Edison was also crying, Edison was also weeping and also got into this trauma, probably we would not seen this invention today and we were not literally seeing each other in this bulb. Similarly, I think even there from morning onwards I've been hearing Andhra Pradesh and Vizag, there are so many issues and all that. All our mistakes are going to be burnt into ashes and we are letting start fresh through Infinity Vizag. Thank you so much.
That's great. Actually, looking beyond the bottlenecks, the positive attitude is all about it. Great. Thank you, Dr. Ravi. So from all three of you, I want to hear maybe one or two takeaways for Vizag to become what are the vantage points for Vizag to become a right ecosystem for startups?
I can get on with a couple of few things. It's good to hear that let us celebrate failure. I think that's something which would get on. Two things which I can say is that, Atmanirbhar Bharat, this is what PM Modi's was out there. We were seeing on a global scale, we never saw the Ministry of External Affairs working in the way that they are working right now. So for all the Vizag startups or within the AP startups, let us start working with on the defense side. They do have a lot of budget. They do have the next problems, even our Google Maps and other things were the birth of Air Force Research Labs or a couple of other things. So I would recommend we have an ecosystem here where you would interact much with the naval team or the defense team so that you have money floating in. That would be the first key great customer we have. They always say that government is not a great customer, but they could be a good R&D customer who you can work with. So that's one beautiful thing. And when we are like a new state, you can get a lot of focus from government officials which you never got before because of the wide area. So let us think that on a positive side of the story. Keep building certain bridges, and then I think we should be good.
Okay.
I can think of two things, right? So we need to look at how Vizag can actually be an entrepreneur. Have belief, have the passion, don't worry about what's happening elsewhere. That will continue to happen. Things come up, things go down, right? So focus, belief, passion, that we are able to make it happen. The second one, I would look at what was discussed also in the panel, that focus on the problems. What are those key problems that if you solve, anyone will be really ready to pay for it, right? So if we look at it, maritime is an excellent example. If you go to Bangalore, guys will not be able to work on problems from a maritime industry simply because they don't have access to the end tools. So if we are able to focus on those problems where there are really problems and really use the facilities to make it happen, I think it need not be education that everyone focuses on, right? So these are 2 points from my side that would definitely help.
Just a quick point to add. I think you just mentioned focus on the problems for that people are willing to pay, which strike me an idea. There is a thing called IDEX portal. I don't know how many of you have seen. Government is actually funding at least 10 crores on certain things. The moment we just walked in, I think we spent 2-3 days, we have seen 50 crores worth of projects that we can go on. So those are the problem statements which were placed by the end customers straight away. So go look at those sites, start bidding on them, attend these events. I think that would be a good source which I forgot to mention, but I think glad you told that.
So again, coming back, the connecting dots is what I think need of hour for the place of Andhra Pradesh. I think all the things, whatever I discussed earlier, so are in right place. They are growing naturally. So some kind of celebration required. The traceability is needed. For example, if someone is going from this place to settling in some place, I think whenever they are visiting this part of the world, somehow we need to connect to them and see that they contribute something back to this particular place. For example, as I told, every family is connected. One person in US, they are all our customers for this particular part of the world. Sell, resell, and resell the same. I think that is the only mantra. More and more celebration. In fact, we propose to government of Andhra Pradesh and to the ITAP as well. So we have a huge database. Bring some of these startup founders who are actually successful outside, bring them here at least once in a year and see that they are celebrated here. So that some kind of emotional connect is kind of improved upon, and probably I think they will contribute back to this particular part of the world, and slowly, naturally again we revive. That is the only proposal we have. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So we are in the right place. So Vizag is also known as an education hub, right? So, and with the new government and the new governance, I'm very sure every startup to even to mature or to even to go to the next level, it needs a lot of handholding, and the good governance basically is required. And I'm very sure because it's the challenges that you people have taken up as Andhra, as a new state, to give set an example against could be Hyderabad or could be Bangalore also as is your neighbors. So it's the right ecosystem to nurture your startups and even to begin your journey here. And definitely like-minded people, as I said, it's right, definitely right there. So right attitude, positive outlook is all about it. So people should take take a jump into entrepreneurship at this point. There's no other better time or the place. So thank you so much, and I'll open the forum for questions, if any.
Come on, it could be anything.
Yeah.
Shout out the questions. Either A, we did a great job, or maybe this is something horrible. Just shoot out some questions. We're allowed to get on.
Students, startups who want to get into.
If nothing, then I'll
entrepreneurship,
target
or who
HCL
was-
VP. He's the smartest guy here. He's growing bigger. Yeah. Yes, go ahead. Yeah. Sure. Glad we got our first hero.
Well, myself, I am Raja Pradeep. I worked for various multinational corporations ranging from P&G, Britannia, Vedanta, L&T, etc. And my last association has been as a vice president with the Patanjali Group. And I currently had 3 startups, one in climate technologies, one in Andhra's first e-bikes manufacturing company, and there is a startup in FPO's technologies also. So all these 3 companies are headed by me. Now, I'm a Vizag boy, all right, and so my question here is, in fact, my idea is, why not those established guys, I mean, those successful people from Vizag, those angel investors, or those people who have established themselves abroad and have started mentoring startups and all that, why not they come up with a Vizag-based angel investment syndicate or start a micro VC-based fund just to fund the startup ideas that are emanating from Vizag only? Maybe something like a $10 million or a $100 million VC fund, and start only nurturing the Vizag-based startups. Does it not help the ecosystem here?
Yeah, I'll give you 3 quick answers. Being a hero space fund venture guy, it's a good idea that you have Hyderabad Angels, you have Mumbai Angels or Indian Angel Network. It's always the facilitation of the ecosystem. So money runs. I'm glad you are running 3 of those. 3 companies. It's not an easy task to really get on. Unless there is an motivational aspect, I still don't understand. You have Sequoia India, you have larger venture capitals. I believe, I don't know if we already have, maybe Sridhar is here or some others. If the state have some sort of risk-taking capabilities, again, that could be a good one, because none of it's basically the opportunity cost for all the successful people to think about, is it worth investing? Do you even have companies? Again, the trust factor, that's the biggest thing which comes in. But it's a good idea. I hope Sridhar would take up certain thing and get on with AP, CITA, and then...
I just want to extend my question. At first, I did not want to make a comparison with our sister state, Telangana. Like in Telangana, if you see the ecosystem, you know about the T-Hub. I mean, there is not much comparison with the kind of T-Hub in Andhra. Like T-Hub, actually, I mean, it's the idea of the current Telangana government itself. They have T-Hub for various startup activities. They even have startup hubs for various niche areas also. Like they have an agri-hub for agri-tech companies. They have a water and sanitation hub for water and sanitation-based startups. They have a WE hub, Women Entrepreneurs Hub. So there are around 7 to 8 different hubs that they have nurtured in Telangana. And they have various VC funds also that are being channelized in startups that are emanating from Telangana.
Okay.
Why not the same ecosystem could be brought into Andhra?
I heard your question. Just considering the time, let me give a quick short brief. It's a great piece. Walk before you run. You can never compare an 8th grade student with a guy who is already having his master's. We are in new state. Let's figure out it a way, one step at a time. That's what we were saying. Instead of building next generation IT companies, let's focus on space manufacturing. Let's focus on medical imaging related. I think you have medtech zone. So I believe within the time, with right leadership. I think this is one of the event which we had. This is something cool. Why not? Gathering people, having great guys, Microsoft people sitting up here. It's a start. Let's do it slowly. It's better to go slow in the start and then plan it properly than really jumping. But it's a great idea. I hope we'll see a day where Vishakhapatnam Angels or Andhra Angels would actually emerge. And then, Sridhar, I think it would be a good idea you propose to the government and give certain incentives for venture capital. I think that would work.
Yeah, just to add on, it's already started, but in a very small scale. We Founder Circle, I think there are some initiatives just started, just began. But you see the comparison of this particular city versus Bangalore or Hyderabad. This is more business-centric city. Till date, the investments were onto the business, not onto the startups. So business, as you know, that cycle is very long and it would take its own sweet time to mature and all that. So people are from that background. Whereas if you look at the Bangalore and so on, they're startup centric, where scale is very high, scale is very fast, speed, velocity is very high. So that is why the interest of an investor also would be very high in those particular segment. But slowly the businesses should actually spur some kind of startup ecosystem. That's what I was talking. The next step is what I think IoT based or smart base of all the 8 domains and 9 domains I talked before. So if when that happens, that conversion happens, probably I think the investors also would be happy to get into this. Otherwise, it is no business sense for them also to invest into this kind of thing. Yeah, we need to be honest, we need to be practical as well. Yeah.
Yeah, with the right ecosystem, I think the investors, there's no dearth of investors, I also feel. And government should always be an enabler and, they should only restrict themselves to as a regulatory authorities to define certain things. Other than that, as entrepreneurs, I really tell you, we don't expect hand-holding or support, great support from government. I think, the system is, even the sector is booming, that irrespective of that, it's an ecosystem. If you look at Bangalore, it is not just, or Telangana or Hyderabad, it is not because of the government's initiative only. It is because of a kind of an ecosystem where you have 5,000 startups there, networking, collaborating. And so what happens, naturally everything flows in. Everything gets enabled, and government only can enable that, cannot get into funding or beyond that. That's what I feel. Yes, it's a good idea. Once you have certain success stories, couple of them, and as incubators take them to the next stage, handhold the early stage startups, I'm very sure investors, money will always flow in. Wherever there's a good idea, good team, good people, it will definitely flow in. I think there's no dearth of that. That's
on a lighter note, somebody told Bangalore and Silicon Valley and all that, when these ants come and build their anthill, right? So they really work hard. Finally, one fine day, one snake will come inside and grab that opportunity. That's how the investors or governments and all that would grab that when they see that kind of momentum takes place. I'm sure more ants should come in here first, build some anthills. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, all of you.
I think that's a wrap of the panel.
Yes, right. Thank you.
Thank you guys. I know it's late in the evening. Thank you so much. Thank
you. Please stay here. Just a minute. Thank you so much for so overwhelming words, and inspiration starts here. So startups, get onto your shoes and start making some noise about it. So yes, a lot of good advice. So with this note, we want to thank each one of them from the panel. It's a token of appreciation.